first question. How are you connected to ACFW? Were you ever a member?
Yes, I've been a member for ages, off and on, depending on, what I'm writing and stuff. But I've been a member off and on since 2007 when my very first novel came out. ACFW was the first conference I went to.
You say, I wish people were here. Everybody could have heard or to see you live. They can see the audio, but got a chance to hear your story.
Yeah, they can, on the recording, I think, yeah.
Beautiful. I was like, I do not know that.
But I have lifelong friends who are here. There's some over there, actually. Rick Acker's over there. I've got friends for decades that...
What advice would you give to a writer who is struggling?
Oh, okay, so this is, I'm giving away part of my talk tomorrow, but my number one rule of writing is to write as though no one will ever read it. Write as though no one will ever read it. Because if you're struggling, or if you're worried about it, or if there's any fear there, that means that you're thinking about what other people are going to think, and you're not staying in the moment. So write as though no one, you're in the closet with your flashlight and your secret notebook writing secret stuff. Write that way.
Oh, that was good. I need a fun story about your writing journey.
A fun story about my writing journey? Okay. Well, my very first ACFW, and I shared this story earlier, but my very first ACFW, my book, Demon and Memoir, had just come out. I went to a workshop. There's a guy sitting in front of me. He turns around and he says, "You're Tosca Lee. You wrote Demon and Memoir." And I was like, yeah, maybe. Did you like it? And he's like, "I love this book." And he went on. And that's how I met James Rubart, who is now a Christie Hall of Famer. And we have been friends since then. We've been on tour together. We've spoken together. We've keynoted together. And we may go years without being able to do anything in person together. But then we just pick right up where we left off. So
that's good stuff. What was your key takeaway in like one sentence from your whole talk today? Sum it up in one sentence.
Writing like life is all about relationships.
Oh, good stuff. Love it. What was the roughest moment in your writing journey? How did you overcome it?
I experienced a real creative low. A couple of them, but a real creative low when my publishing and print basically shut down. They told me, "We have no marketing budget for your books." I mean, it was just a dead end at that time. And I remember thinking, how am I supposed to push through this? I had a book coming out. I had more books with the same imprint, which was now basically dead. And my husband said to me, "Why don't you just go have fun?" And I remember thinking, I can't go have fun. This is serious. This is my job. And you know what? She was right. You need to go have fun. If you're not having fun, your readers aren't going to have fun. But if I'm having fun, you're going to have fun too. I'm going to make sure you have fun. So,
yeah, I even love the transparency about. I'm going to say that what you were going through, the dark times.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, that's really hard because everybody's going through dark times. I mean, who knows how many people in this conference are going through dark times, right? So I think you just look for people who may be off by themselves. Maybe they're alone. You look for people who are reaching out, but I think it's important to go after people and to seek them out, especially if they're keeping to themselves, if they are not surrounded by friends. I think that's important because when you go through those times, you feel so alone. Everybody asks me, "Is he weird?" And I'm like, yes, he's weird. I learned so much from that partnership. Our first book took longer than it would have taken for each of us to write the book individually, but that's what it takes to learn how to get your process down. But I learned a tremendous amount about plotting and writing, and it was funny because he came from thrillers about serial killers and that kind of thing, and then went to writing biblical fiction, and I wrote biblical fiction and went off to writing thrillers after that, so it kind of went like that. I can't write with anyone around me. No, we plotted the first book from the ground up. We brainstormed it, plotted it, and then throughout those 3 books, we took turns taking the first draft. And so if it was my turn to work on the first draft, I'd go in and start drafting it. I'd give it to him, he'd rewrite it, give it to me, I'd rewrite it, back and forth. That's why it took so long.
Wow.
Yeah, but we had different voices, and it takes time to combine a voice and then get that cohesive voice. Sorry?
You can tell.
Good. Well, I think by the third book we had really combined it. The first one took draft after draft after draft, and then we had it. So,
Out of all the books you've written, was there one that was harder than the others, either to write or to research?
Iscariot, the story of Judas, and I researched full time for 18 months, including going to Israel and just research only. And then I started working on it. And that book took me about 5 years total, but that book also required a faith transformation for me, because I was starting with, I'm going to research, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be intellectual, and I'm going to do it smart, and I'm going to show how much I know. But in the end, it became a book about me. I realized I was not writing Judas's story, I was writing my story halfway through. And I overwrote that book because I was trying to put all my research in there and everything, and in the end I pulled all the wires out, I pared it down to the story about a relationship between Judas Iscariot and this guy named Jesus. And Judas was the only disciple Jesus called friend. But that book was actually a chance for me in first person to go into that setting and to sit down beside Jesus in these scenes. And so I got to sit at the side of Jesus when I wrote that book.
When I tell you